On a blustery autumn morning, October 27th, 2003, a lone deer hunter, Elias Thorne, made a discovery that would unravel a two-decade-old mystery and deepen the chilling lore of the Lost Creek wilderness. He wasn't looking for answers, only game, his breath misting in the crisp Colorado air as he traversed a seldom-used game trail. The ground was littered with fallen leaves, a tapestry of ochre and rust, muffling his steps. The wilderness here is unforgiving, a labyrinth of granite peaks and dense pine forests, notorious for swallowing sounds, secrets, and sometimes people whole. Elias, a veteran woodsman, knew its capricious moods. He understood the silent pact one made with such untamed places: respect its power or become another of its forgotten whispers. That day, however, the wilderness decided to give something back, albeit something imbued with profound sorrow. As he pushed through a thicket of scrub oak, his boot caught on something metallic, half buried beneath a layer of pine needles and decaying foliage. It wasn't the glint of an animal trap or a discarded piece of mining equipment. It was too small, too regular. He knelt, brushing away the detritus, and uncovered a tarnished, mud-caked metal box, no larger than a shoebox. Its surface was pitted with rust, a testament to years of exposure, yet its latch surprisingly held firm. A strange sensation, a cold dread, prickled at the back of his neck. This was not a hunter's lost gear, nor a relic of some long-past prospector. The box felt deliberate. He pried it open with the blunt end of his hunting knife. Inside, nestled amongst preserved pine needles and dry soil, was a collection of items that screamed of another time, another life. A faded, water-damaged driver's license, the photo of a smiling young woman, dated 2003. A set of car keys, a brand familiar from the early 2000s, and a small leather-bound journal, its pages warped but largely intact. The name on the license, Sarah Jenkins, stirred a distant, unsettling memory. A missing persons report, perhaps. 2 decades. The sheer passage of time etched into the objects was a weight in his hands. This was not merely lost property. This was an artifact of disappearance. Elias stood, the metallic tang of the box mixing with the damp earth smell, and surveyed the silent, indifferent forest. The trees, ancient and stoic, offered no explanation. They simply watched, as they always had. He knew with a certainty that settled deep in his bones that he had stumbled upon the first tangible clue to a story that the mountains had held captive for too long. A slow pan over the weathered metal box, its rust patterns like ancient hieroglyphs. Flashbulb transitions showing the faded driver's license, the car keys, the journal. Text overlay, October 27, 2003, Lost Creek Wilderness. The initial disappearance of Sarah Jenkins, 23, and her fiancé, Michael Sterling, 24, on November 12, 2003, had been a local sensation, then a national cold case, and finally a faded whisper in the annals of unsolved mysteries. They were, in every quantifiable metric, the expert victims. Sarah, a meticulous planner, kept detailed itineraries for their trips, copies always left with her parents. Michael, an avid outdoorsman, was equipped with top-tier gear, a satellite phone, and a deep understanding of wilderness survival. Their Subaru Forester, a reliable all-wheel drive vehicle, was regularly serviced. They were not naive novices venturing unprepared into the unknown. They were the embodiment of preparedness, a testament to the belief that diligence could mitigate disaster. This, in hindsight, was the first bitter irony of their fate. Their journey was to be a celebratory road trip, a week-long exploration of the Colorado Rockies, culminating in a proposal Michael had meticulously planned for weeks. Sarah's journal, later recovered, detailed their route, their planned stops, even the small private jokes they shared. It was a chronicle of 2 lives on the cusp of everything, brimming with optimism. They were last seen at a gas station in Fairplay, Colorado at approximately 3:47 p.m. on November 12th. Surveillance footage, grainy and time-stamped, showed them laughing, filling up the tank, buying snacks. Sarah wore a bright red fleece, Michael a familiar blue baseball cap. normalcy, a prosaic moment captured forever as the last verifiable image of their existence before the void. The plan was to head towards the Lost Creek Wilderness for a 2-day hike, then loop back through Buena Vista. They had reserved a campsite, confirmation emails found on Sarah's home computer. Every step accounted for, every contingency considered. Yet, after fair play, the breadcrumbs ceased. Their parents reported them missing when they failed to call on November 14th, a deviation from Sarah's strict communication protocol. Initial search efforts were immediate, extensive, and ultimately fruitless. Search and rescue teams, utilizing helicopters, K-9 units, and hundreds of volunteers, scoured the designated hiking trails and surrounding areas. The Subaru, bright red and distinctive, was nowhere to be found. No trace, no signal, just silence. The authorities theorized a myriad of possibilities. A wrong turn, an accident, foul play, even a deliberate disappearance, though their families vehemently rejected the latter. The mountains, in their vast indifference, offered no answers. They absorbed the light, the sound, the lives, and held them close, unwilling to relinquish their secrets. The frustration for the grieving investigators, the desperate parents, was palpable. To have so much preparation, so much careful planning, lead to such an absolute, unyielding absence, it defied logic. It defied the very idea of safety through foresight. The irony was a cold comfort. A static-filled archival footage of missing persons posters. Text overlay, November 12, 2003. Last scene. Fairplay cut a slow pan over a detailed map of the Lost Creek Wilderness, then zooming in on a specific trail. Elias Thorne's discovery in October 2023 reignited the cold case with an electrifying jolt. The metal box, once analyzed, yielded more than just personal effects. Forensic examination confirmed the driver's license belonged to Sarah Jenkins. The car keys, after meticulous cleaning, were identified as belonging to a 2003 Subaru Forester, specifically the model Michael Sterling owned. Most crucially, the journal, though water-stained and fragile, contained legible entries. Its last entry, dated November 12th, detailed their anticipation for the hike. "Michael is so excited about proposing," Sarah had written, her optimism radiating even from the faded ink. "I can't wait to see the view from the summit tomorrow. We're going off the main trail a bit. Michael found a secluded spot he thinks will be perfect." This single sentence, innocent in its original intent, became a chilling revelation. It explained the void. "Off the main trail a bit." The words hung in the air, heavy with 20 years of unspoken tragedy. It was a deviation, however small, from their meticulously planned itinerary. The grieving investigator of this reopened case, Detective Anya Sharma, had studied the Jenkins Sterling file for years, a personal obsession born from the sheer baffling nature of the disappearance. The new evidence, unearthed by chance, was a godsend, but also a torment. It provided direction, yet simultaneously amplified the agony of the lost time. Sharma immediately focused the search area around the metal box's discovery point, employing new technologies unavailable in 2003, ground-penetrating radar, advanced thermal imaging drones, and highly trained cadaver dogs specifically desensitized to old scents. The terrain was brutal. Steep inclines, dense undergrowth, and rocky outcrops made progress agonizingly slow. The box itself was found at an elevation of nearly 10,500 feet, far from any established trail. This was not, quote, 3 off the main trail. This was deep wilderness, the kind that demands respect and punishes hubris. The journal's mention of a secluded spot and going off the main trail immediately conjured images of an adventurous couple seeking solitude, perhaps for that special moment, unknowingly venturing into unforgiving territory. The rule of irony presented itself once more. Their desire for a perfect private moment, a testament to their love, may have been the very factor that sealed their fate. It was a cruel twist, a narrative thread woven with both romance and profound despair. The mountains, silent witnesses for 2 decades, had finally allowed a glimpse into their grim archives. Macro shots of the rusted key, the water-damaged journal page with legible text. Text overlay, journal entry, November 12th. Michael is so excited about proposing, we're going off the main trail a bit. Drone footage sweeping over dense mountainous terrain. The thermal imaging drones were the first to register an anomaly. At 7:02 a.m. on November 4th, 2023, a week after Thorne's discovery, a subtle heat signature, inconsistent with natural geological formations, appeared on the scanner. It was located approximately 2 miles northeast of where the metal box had been found, nestled at the base of a particularly treacherous ravine. The coordinates were immediately relayed to the ground team. The descent into the ravine was precarious, requiring ropes and specialized climbing gear. The air grew colder with each foot of descent, the sunlight struggling to penetrate the dense canopy of ancient pines. At 8:19 a.m., the ground team leader, a seasoned search and rescue veteran named Captain Ramirez, radioed back. The ensuing hours were a meticulous excavation. The Subaru Forester, once a vibrant red, was now a mangled, rust-eaten hulk, half buried under a landslide of rocks and earth. It was a grotesque tableau, a testament to the raw, unyielding power of the wilderness. The impact must have been catastrophic. The passenger compartment was crushed, barely recognizable. There were no visible signs of life, no desperate attempts to escape. The scene conveyed an instantaneous, violent end. Within the wreckage, after hours of careful work, human remains were discovered. 2 sets, skeletal, intertwined with the twisted metal and years of accumulated sediment. The medical examiner, Dr. Elias Thorne, no relation to Elias, confirmed through dental records and DNA analysis that they were unequivocally Sarah Jenkins and Michael Sterling. The cause of death was attributed to blunt force trauma consistent with a high-speed vehicle impact. There was no foul play, no mysterious vanishing. Just an accident, hidden for 20 years by the sheer scale and indifference of the mountain. The discovery brought a grim closure, but also a fresh wave of questions. Why had they driven off the road? What caused the landslide? The vehicle's location suggested they were attempting to navigate an old, unmaintained logging road, or perhaps even forging a new path. The terrain was unforgiving, even for a capable vehicle. The open-loop question lingered. Why would 2 experienced, prepared individuals deviate so drastically from their plan and venture into such perilous, unmarked territory? The mountains don't explain why. They simply hold their secrets until chance, or a determined search, forces their hand. Static-filled archival footage showing the initial search efforts in 2003, thermal imaging footage highlighting a heat signature, macro shots of debris field, twisted metal, and then a slow, respectful pan over the recovered remains. The forensic image of the accident scene, painstakingly recreated from thousands of photographs and drone scans, painted a grim picture. The Subaru had plunged approximately 300 feet down a sheer embankment, tumbling end over end before coming to rest at the base of the ravine. The landslide, likely triggered by heavy rains or seismic activity, had then covered the wreckage, sealing it away from prying eyes for 2 decades. The key, it seemed, lay in the vehicle's onboard GPS system, miraculously still somewhat functional despite the catastrophic damage. The internal clock, while slightly desynchronized due to GPS drift, provided a critical timeline. At 4:32 p.m. on November 12, 2003, mere minutes after their last sighting in Fairplay, the Subaru's GPS logged a sharp turnoff County Road 11 onto a barely discernible, unmapped track. This track, an old game trail widened by occasional off-roaders, was precisely the secluded spot Michael had likely discovered. Its appeal for a private proposal, away from prying eyes, would have been immense. The log showed a slow, cautious ascent for approximately 1.5 miles. Then, at 4:51 p.m., a sudden, sharp acceleration, followed by an immediate loss of signal. This abrupt cessation of data indicated the moment of impact. The narrative truth began to coalesce. Michael, perhaps eager to reach his chosen spot, or perhaps underestimating the deteriorating conditions of the unmaintained track, had taken a risk. The autumn rains in early November 2003 had been unusually heavy, saturating the loose soil and making the steep incline treacherous. It's plausible that a sudden patch of mud, a hidden rock, or a loss of traction on the wet, unstable ground caused the vehicle to veer off course. The Subaru, despite its all-wheel drive capabilities, was no match for the unforgiving grade and slick surface. The plunge would have been swift, brutal, leaving no time for reaction. The evidence log from the recovered Subaru, though fragmented, provided haunting glimpses into their last moments. A half-eaten bag of trail mix, Sarah's sunglasses still clipped to the visor, a paperback novel tucked into the door pocket, its page marked. These mundane objects preserved in the wreckage humanized the tragedy, painting a vivid portrait of lives abruptly halted. Imagine you are standing on that precipice, the setting sun casting long shadows across the treacherous incline. You see the faint track, alluring in its promise of solitude. You hear the engine straining, the tires losing purchase. The mountains don't explain why, but they show you how quickly life can unravel, even for the most prepared. Macro shots of a GPS unit displaying corrupted data, then a text overlay of recovered coordinates and timestamps. Slow pan over the interior wreckage of the Subaru, focusing on small personal items like sunglasses or a book. The reconstruction phase became a forensic ballet, piecing together the final moments of Sarah and Michael with every available fragment of data. The GPS data, painstakingly recovered by specialized digital forensic teams, revealed a crucial detail: a sudden sharp swerve to the left, precisely at the point where the unmapped track narrowed significantly and began its steep descent into the ravine. This swerve at 4:50 p.m. indicated an abrupt loss of control. It was not a gentle drift off the road, but a violent, reactive movement. This strongly suggested an encounter with an unexpected obstacle or a sudden, dramatic shift in the terrain. The theory that gained the most traction among the investigators involved a combination of the saturated ground and a sudden washout. Satellite imagery from 2003, compared with topographical surveys, showed evidence of significant erosion along that particular section of the track in the weeks leading up to November. It is highly probable that a portion of the narrow path simply gave way under the weight of the vehicle, or they encountered a deep, hidden rut created by the heavy rains. Michael, in a desperate attempt to correct the vehicle's trajectory, would have swerved, but the unstable ground offered no purchase. The sheer drop, concealed by dense foliage and the rapidly fading light of dusk, would have appeared without warning. The rule of irony struck again. Their preparedness, their robust vehicle, their adventurous spirit, all were rendered irrelevant by the unpredictable elemental force of the mountain itself. The narrative now suggests a moment of exhilarating anticipation, perhaps Michael just about to pull over, to finally ask the question, when the ground beneath them simply betrayed them. The shift from joyful expectation to terrifying freefall would have been instantaneous. The journal, though it didn't explicitly detail the accident, ended on a note of pure, unadulterated happiness. Sarah's last written words, "This is going to be the best trip ever," echoed with a poignant, heartbreaking optimism against the backdrop of their violent end. It offered no clue to their fate, only a testament to their vibrant lives. The mountains keep their secrets, but sometimes, through the meticulous work of those who grieve through investigation, those secrets are grudgingly revealed, not in grand pronouncements, but in the granular details of wreckage and metadata. The melancholic truth emerged, a simple, tragic accident, amplified by the unforgiving nature of the wilderness and buried by 2 decades of silence. Flashbulb transitions showing satellite imagery, then a topographical map highlighting erosion. A reconstructed animation of the Subaru swerving and plunging down the embankment. Macro shots of the final legible words in Sarah's journal. The passage of time, 20 years exactly, offered a unique lens through which to examine the tragedy of Sarah and Michael. It allowed for the development of technologies unimaginable in 2003, but it also solidified the sense of profound loss, moving it from a frantic search to a cold case, then to a historical accounting. The grieving investigator, Detective Sharma, found herself drawn not just to the technical aspects of the case, but to the emotional resonance of the objects recovered. The metal box, originally a vessel of forgotten secrets, became a symbol of enduring hope, a whisper across 2 decades. The faded photograph of Sarah on her driver's license, the youthful optimism captured forever, stood in stark contrast to the skeletal remains recovered from the twisted metal. This stark juxtaposition underscored the human element of the forensic process. It was not just about identifying bones and analyzing data, it was about honoring two lives that ended too soon, in a place that seemed to actively resist their memory. The case of Sarah and Michael became a cautionary tale, directly addressing the audience. Imagine you are standing on that remote summit, exhilarated by the view, certain of your abilities, trusting in your equipment. The sun is setting, painting the peaks in hues of orange and purple. You decide to take a shortcut, a path less traveled, seeking a unique perspective, a moment of profound beauty. You believe you are prepared, but the mountains don't care about your plans, your love, or your aspirations. They exist outside human constructs, governed by geological forces and elemental whims. They will take what they are given, and they will hold it, sometimes for 20 years, sometimes forever. The moral warning is clear: respect the wilderness, understand its power. No amount of preparation can completely negate its inherent unpredictability. The quest for the perfect secluded spot, for a memory to last a lifetime, tragically became the site of an eternal resting place. The rhetorical echoes persisted. The mountains don't explain why. The mountains keep their secrets. But in this instance, a part of that secret had been unearthed, not by grand design, but by a chance encounter, a hunter's boot, and the patient, unrelenting work of those who refuse to let two lives be utterly forgotten. A slow pan over the recovered metal box, then a quick cut to a panoramic shot of the Lost Creek wilderness at sunset. Text overlay: the mountains don't explain why. The unearthing of Sarah and Michael's final resting place brought a profound, if melancholic, sense of closure to their families. For 20 years they had lived with the agonizing uncertainty, the phantom hope that perhaps against all odds their loved ones were still out there, somewhere. The discovery, while confirming their darkest fears, also provided a tangible truth, a definitive end to the speculative torture. The ritual of remembrance could finally begin, grounded in reality rather than an endless void of what-ifs. The evidence log, detailing the items found within the Subaru's wreckage, served as a final poignant memorial. Beyond the human remains, the shattered phone, the waterlogged wallet, there were smaller, more intimate artifacts. Michael's engagement ring, still in its velvet box, nestled in the glove compartment, never given. Sarah's favorite hiking boots, worn and mud-caked, near the accelerator pedal. A CD case, a mixed compilation of their favorite songs scattered across the dashboard. These weren't just objects, they were fragments of a life interrupted, silent testaments to aspirations unfulfilled, promises unspoken. The irony was once again stark. The very item meant to symbolize a future together, the engagement ring, became an artifact of a future denied. It highlighted the fragility of human plans against the immutable forces of nature. The forensic casual language, typically used to explain technical details, here served to bridge the gap between scientific fact and human emotion. The precise coordinates of their final plunge, the GPS drift, the soil composition, these were the cold, hard data points that ultimately narrated a story of love, adventure, and sudden, unforeseen tragedy. The case underscored a universal truth. Even in an age of advanced technology and meticulous planning, there remains an untamable wildness to the world. And sometimes, in pursuit of beauty or solitude, we brush too closely against that wildness, and it claims its due. The memory of Sarah and Michael, once a haunting, unsolved mystery, now served as a powerful, somber narrative, a testament to the fact that even after 2 decades, the mountains, if patiently interrogated, will eventually speak. Macro shot of an engagement ring in a velvet box, then a slow pan over other personal items recovered from the wreckage. Text overlay: the mountains keep their secrets. The re-examination of the Lost Creek Wilderness case, 2 decades later, revealed not just the fate of Sarah and Michael, but also the evolution of forensic science and search methodologies. In 2003, without the benefit of sophisticated drone technology, advanced ground-penetrating radar, or the enhanced capabilities of digital forensics, the search was limited by the rugged terrain and the technology of the era. The sheer volume of dense forest and mountainous expanse had effectively concealed the Subaru, making it a needle in a haystack of epic proportions. The cold case essayist, in narrating this story, emphasizes that time, while often an enemy in investigations, can also be an unexpected ally, allowing new tools and perspectives to emerge. The static-filled archival footage from 2003 search efforts, juxtaposed with the crisp, high-resolution drone footage of 2023, visually underscores this technological leap. It highlights the dedication of grieving investigators like Detective Sharma, who carry the torch of unsolved cases, driven by a quiet reverence for the victims. Her obsession with the minute details, the metadata from Sarah's phone logs, the precise GPS drift calculations, transformed a forgotten tragedy into a solved enigma. The rhetorical echo, "The mountains don't explain why," took on a deeper, more nuanced meaning in light of the full reconstruction. While the why of their initial decision to go off-trail remained a matter of speculation, a desire for privacy, an adventure, a hidden beauty spot, the how of their demise was definitively answered: a devastating accident on unstable ground. This distinction is crucial. It moves the narrative from supernatural mystery to a grounded, albeit tragic, human story within an indifferent natural world. The case stands as a powerful reminder of the delicate balance between human aspiration and environmental reality. The atmospheric mystery of their disappearance was replaced by the true crime procedural of their discovery, offering not just resolution but a deep, haunting insight into the final moments of two young lives. Imagine yourself on that unmapped track, the excitement building, the promise of a lifetime ahead. Then the sudden lurch, the sickening drop. The mountains gave no warning, they simply claimed their own. Flashbulb transitions between old grainy search photos and new high-definition drone images. A final sweeping panoramic shot of the Lost Creek wilderness under a clear, bright sky, emphasizing its vastness and indifference. The narrative of Sarah Jenkins and Michael Sterling now serves as more than just a solved cold case. It is a profound testament to the enduring human need for answers, even when those answers are tinged with immense sorrow. It speaks to the dedication of those who refuse to let the lost remain lost, who meticulously sift through the debris of time and tragedy to reconstruct a semblance of truth. The documentary essayist approach allows for this blend of forensic detail and melancholic reflection, honoring the deceased not with sensationalism but with respectful, analytical chronicling. The tone of voice remains somber and reverent, never shying away from the heartbreaking reality, yet always maintaining a dignified distance. The forensic storytelling style meticulously lays out the evidence, guiding the audience through the painstaking process of discovery, allowing them to experience the iterative reveal as the layers of time and earth are peeled back. The final continuous text block, without breaks or headings, mimics the relentless, unbroken flow of time and the unyielding nature of the wilderness itself, a single, uninterrupted saga of disappearance and eventual revelation. The expert victim trope, personified by Sarah and Michael, highlights the tragic irony that even the most prepared among us are ultimately subject to the unpredictable forces of nature. Their meticulous planning, once thought to be their greatest strength, ultimately couldn't save them from the unique confluence of circumstances that led to their demise. The unfulfilled proposal, the unworn ring, the undelivered vows, these details serve as powerful emotional anchors, grounding the scientific and procedural elements of the story in a deeply human context. The rhetorical echoes, "The mountains don't explain why," and "The mountains keep their secrets," are not fully dispelled, for while how they vanished is known, the ultimate why that specific deviation, why that precise moment of fate, remains shrouded in the unknowable decisions of human beings against an indifferent, powerful landscape. Their story stands as a lasting warning, whispered by the wind through the pines of the Lost Creek wilderness. Venture with respect, for even the most beautiful places hold unimaginable dangers, and sometimes the price of solitude is an eternity of silence.